Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to Versus Series, where a member of my team, AcebReakers, faces off against a well-known up-and-coming pro player. Now, we didn't have one last week because I was ill, however I am back now in full force. And I actually recently made a Heroes of the Storm video, so if you're interested in Heroes of the Storm, go ahead, check that out. I will put the video in the description below and probably an annotation thing somewhere on the screen. But anyway, let's get on with the show. So, for this week, we do have Manuelz and Valenda. Now, Manuelz has started with his Miracle Rogue. Now, Miracle Rogue is one of those decks which you don't see that often. And it's a decent... it's not a bad deck. It's a good deck. But it's not played as much as it used to be by far. And a lot of that was because the decks changed from combo-centric to more just beating their face in with cold-blooded minions, which is basically what this deck is at the moment. So, anything notable in here? We do have one Earthen Ring, we have one Azure Drake double Teacher, along with the double Conceal, which is not mandatory. A lot of them only play the singular, however, Manuel has gone with the full double, and hopefully that will turn out to be fairly relevant, besides just the consistency increase, which you can get by concealing gadget dance. You can also use double Conceal in one game. So that's always something you can actually pull off. Now, his opponent is Valenda from Gamer Connect, and he is opening with a mid-rangey druidy buildy thing. Now, mid-rangey druidy is not the most common of decks either, but Druid has been on the rise a little bit, mostly because of Firebat winning the World Championships with it. Now, this particular version is running double Spectral Knight, one Sun Fury as that particular engine. It's running a lot of ramp with that Wild Growth. It's got the Shades, one Azure Drake, and double combo by the looks of it. So this is a weird hybrid between the more aggressive Druid decks and the slower Druid decks, kind of nickel and dime their opponents to death. So very, very interesting to see how this particular matchup ends up. So, on to the mulligans. As we have, I think you sent back pretty much the whole hand actually for the Druid. And the Rogue just sent back the one card. Keeping that Teacher because you want to get it down early, keeping the 3-drop because you just want to be able to combo down. Now, Valenda has one of the weirder hands I've seen in a while, double Innervate with a Yeti. Now, I'm pretty sure you actually want to just double Innervate out the Ancient of Lore as opposed to the Yeti, which I could definitely see, and the reason for it is because Sap. Sap is a thing, Sap is annoying, and it can ruin your day if you multiple Innervates. However, you can double Innervate Lore, and then just go Yeti, and you draw cards. Basically, the Sap is only... You're not getting card advantage out of the Sap, in other words, because you're drawing both Innervates back, effectively, as you just drew a combo off the Ancient Lore, which is quite amusing. Now, his next turn is going to be the Yeti. The question is, will this get straight up killed? I think it will. We can see a Backstab, SI7, and the Dagger. Saving those Saps for those crucial taunts so that you can get some extra damage in later in the game. However, for this turn, taking out a 5/5, it's fairly simple, as I'm just closing the window. Alright, so this is a pretty simple Yeti turn, I should imagine. There's not much decision making in that particular turn. Now, on Manuel's side of things, he does have an interesting set of plays here. That second Eviscerate basically means he can throw out one here against Yeti, using that Blood Mage. Blood Mage, highly, highly underplayed legendary right now. It doesn't fit in a lot of decks is the problem, but it's very powerful. The 2-drop has quite a punch to it as far as the spell power goes. It's just kind of, it's going on vacation at the moment. It's kind of at its lowest point. Oh, we've got some options checking here. Anyway, this particular turn is very difficult. I think it's Shade Hero Power. I want to say I think it's Shade Hero Power, the 1/1. He does get a card draw, but there's not much you can do about it. You kind of just need to kill it. Spell power, way more dangerous than a card. Spell power can affect multiple cards, whereas one card is, well, can only do one thing at a time. Let's see what this draw off this Blood Mage is. Preparation. He's just missing Gadgetzan, and then he has the entire sort of just I'm going to kill you set of cards. Now he's going to have to deal with this Violet Teacher. There's a couple of ways of doing it. I think Swipe Hero Power is probably the more efficient way of doing it. There's also a Keeper. The problem is you want Swipe for a Gadgetzan, but if he has Conceal it doesn't matter. So you may just want to swipe this 3-5 and then Hero Power it to kill it. The one downside of this is taking a ton of damage while doing this. Taking 2 from the Violet Teacher because of the Hero Power, and then 3 extra from the SI7, which has now done 6 damage, I do believe. Came down to turn 3, 4, 5, yeah, 6 damage. No, more. I think this SI is attacked 3 times coming this turn. There's the Conceal, but still no Gadgetzan, but he's just pushing in some damage here, trying to get more aggressive. Basically, the game plan here is, haven't seen Gadgetzan, we need to put on some pressure. There's a Cold Blood in hand, a Eviscerate in hand, so you can deal some fairly decent damage. I'm a little confused as to what the debate is here. I don't think you attack with a dagger. Actually, maybe you do. Actually, yeah, I think you do. You don't want to miss damage. Yeah, that makes sense. So basically, what he was going through there was that he doesn't have any deadly poisons in his hand. However, he might draw one, and also you miss 1 damage. But he doesn't have any hand. He doesn't have a hand that says, "I'm going to use all my mana." This is a very, very efficient hand. It's not really doing much in terms of mana usage. All things considered, there is a grand total of 6 mana in the hand with a prep and a coin that basically reduce the mana costs. Alright, so we could see a Keeper of the Grove come down here with a Taunt. Just clear out the entire board. That would appear to be what we're seeing here. So I think you just Taunt this and then pass. Let that Shade grow a little bit more. I mean, you could trade. Stops him from using Cold Blood, I guess. So what he's doing at the moment is debating the Sun Fury. Alright, so he's deciding to not Taunt the Shade, which means he wants to attack with it, possibly. He's doing something offensive with the Shade if he's not taunting it. That's the main point here. Alright, so he's holding onto that Shade a little bit more. Loetheb, you say? I think we may just see a Conceal here. Prep Cold Blood? Oh, we've got some lag going on here. Keep in mind that Manuel is on NA and he is playing on an EU account, so the latency is a little high, as you may have noticed, considering the fact that he just cold-blooded and there's a 6 or 7 second delay. This does happen. It's very annoying, and it slows things down a lot. This usually doesn't happen though, it's just the Hearthstone server is going through something a little bit rough. But anyway, so he's gonna prep the Conceal here and try and end the game immediately, as it seems that the latency spike has passed, so the game will speed up a little bit more. Now this Loetheb basically guarantees that there is absolutely nothing his opponent can do. If he had taunted the Shade, this is the funny thing, if he taunted the Shade, he would not be in this position, as he just concedes there. Yeah, there was nothing he could do there. I think it probably would have been better just to taunt up the Shade there. Give yourself a little bit of extra leeway, and that's pretty much all you need. Now, Valenda's having to bring in the Control Warrior here. He had Warlock banned. So basically, Manuelz was banning Warlock because Handlock wants to get rid of it. So there's now a Warrior. Now the last class is a Priest, and there's also on Manuel's side there's a Druid and Shaman and such. But anyway, the particular Control Warrior being brought in here is a once engine, 1 Spellbreaker, 1 Brawl build, so none of the doubles over there. There's 1 BGH, Singular Slam, interesting, and besides that, no Cairn. That's another difference there. No Cairn, The win condition package is the same as usual. It's become pretty standard. Grommash, Ragnaros, Alexstrasza. Some people have been tinkering around with Ysera, but I think those three are probably the most optimal as far as win conditions goes. So he's going straight for the tried and true win conditions at the end of the game there. So anyway, on to the mulligans. Warrior, send the whole hand pack, and the Rogue sends most of it back. You want to keep the Deadly Poison because Acolyte. Now, as far as opening hands goes, Gadgetzan is pretty much all you need in this matchup. You get Gadgetzan, you get your Conceals, and it's pretty much impossible to lose most of the time. Warrior is pretty abysmal against Miracle Rogue a lot of the time. It's almost a traditionally bad matchup. Now, the question is, does he attack here? No, he doesn't. I mean, he kind of has to sit in the long game. There's the Fan of Knives. Cycling Fan of Knives, completely acceptable when it comes to a matchup this slow. Now, the reason he didn't attack there is because he doesn't want to have to go dagger up poison. As far as the warrior is concerned, I think you just... Actually, you got Cruel Task. Yeah, armoring up is fine here, and the reason is you got Cruel Task, whereas you haven't seen Deadly Poison yet, so your Acolyte is probably not going to get full value. This is, however, a unshield slammable, well technically, but you can still use shield slam with your weapon. Edwin Van Cleef to put on some extra pressure. Let's see what their song says here. We could see a Execute. I would actually not be surprised if we saw an Execute. Cruel Taskmaster Execute sounds pretty okay. Slam Execute is also fine. Slam Axe is fine. There's a couple of different plays here. So he's going for the Slam Axe and then Armor Up. The Execute I don't think is that bad, although this I think is better overall. Okay, going for the Armor Smith instead of the Armor Up. I'm not sure I like that, because this does leave you very open. Yeah, I think you do go for that. So he goes up to 2 armor. He's shivved. Interesting. Slight sequencing error there, I think. Actually, no, he wants to reduce armor? No, a slight sequencing error there. But anyway, the axe is going to come down here, take out the 3-3, and the Belcher is going to be on defense, doing what Belcher does best, holding the line. 7 health and taunt, 3 attack and retaliation, but there's the top deck Conceal, and this is where things get rather messy, as we see a prep. Oh, we've got prep into sap. Wow! That is an insane spell chain, and a second Gadgetzan. 3 draws and a tempo play. That is very, very good. Very, very powerful Gadgetzan turn there. So, there's a couple plays here, and all of them feel kind of horrible. There's Death Spite, Sludge Belcher. I think Death Bite Armor Up might be the best one here. You could play Sludge Belcher. The problem with playing Sludge Belcher is it's probably just going to die. It buys you a turn, but how much is a turn really worth? We may actually see a second Gadgetzan come down here and just draw the deck. It's not something you usually see as 2 Gadgetzans on the board, because it's pretty rare, although we may see it here. It depends what the top of the deck is. Oh, what? Oh my god. Alright, the entire deck is going to be drawn here, and the Blood Mage into a Killing Eviscerate, drawing 4. And the second sap. This is brutal. Absolutely brutal. And then kill the token. That's insane. That's actually not something I've seen in a very long time. I have not seen 2 Gadgetzans on the board drawing cards in ages. Very, very rare sight. Usually never happens. Now at this point you just have to kill both. Can you kill both? 4. Yes, yes, you can in fact kill both. That is incredibly important. One problem is just the sheer amount of damage he's taking to do this. Going down to 15. However, it did deal with both gadgets hands, which is very, very impressive. Wait, how much damage is that? So we're going to see a double spell power eviscerate. Wow! That is a huge amount of damage. He's getting extremely low here. Good news for him is that there are no more eviscerates. Bad news is he can't really attack with the Death Spite into that 4/4 at all. You have to play... Actually, no, you can armor... Yeah, you can use the armor, heal up, see what you get. And it's not... I mean, it's a good draw, but it's not what he needs. Because you need to armor up every turn at this point, I think. So what you're going to have to do is play the Acolyte, armor up. Well, play the Acolyte, attack the 4/4 with the Death Spite, armor up, and hope at this point. I mean, you do have the coin, so you could, in theory, draw into another shield block. This is just a really, really rough turn. I think that's the correct play, though, is Acolyte of Pain, try and fish for something. It's difficult to tell, though. Yeah, he's going for the armor up. He's going for the armor up thing with Acolyte. You kind of have to. Wait, what? But you can't kill the Drake. What's the point? You're taking 4 anyway. That was a massive error. I mean, you would have lost anyway, I think, but that was a really, really big mistake. He may have misclicked that, because I think that was rather obvious, but yeah, that was a pretty large mistake that ended up losing him the game there. I think, well, let's just phrase that a bit better. I think you would have lost anyway, because you had Loatheb and you would have got Conceal on the next 2 cards, but that was a really, really sketchy play at the end there. All he had to do was attack the Drake with the Death Bite, and he would have taken out both. And if he was going to take the attack from the Drake anyway, you actually take less damage if you kill it with Death Bite, because then it doesn't have spell power. So, error on Valenda's part there. As we do believe that we have the wrong deck up here. In video editing, go! Anyway, so the last deck is Priest. Now, Priest is not good against Miracle. It's actually legendarily bad against Miracle. So I'm not entirely sure how he's going to win this game. But this particular Priest is an interesting one to say the least. 1 Shadow Word Death, 1 Holy Smite, 1 Silence, 1 Shadow Madness, 1 Holy Fire. This is like a toolbox of removal. All the removal is one of, apart from the Wild Pyro combos and Holy Nova. So pretty much all the removal is one of, apart from the essential components. And it does give the deck a bit of a toolbox feel to it, which could be very good. It could also lack consistency is the problem, but it could be very, very good. So we'll have to see how it goes up against arguably its worst matchup. I mean, Priest versus Handlock's not fantastic, but Priest versus Miracle Rogue, it's pretty atrocious. So anyway, on to the mulligans. As far as the Priest is concerned, I think you send back... No, you keep the Orkanai. Yeah, and then the Rogue sends back the whole hand there. I think I may have kept the Backstab. I guess Deadly Poison is something you prefer. But anyway, I do agree with keeping the Orkanite. You want Orkanite Circle to kill Gadgetzan. The rest of those, not doing much. While Pyro, Power Word Shield, normally an insane opening hand, doesn't really do much against Miracle, so sending back the whole hand there. Now, this hand is one of the single slowest Miracle hands I think I've seen in a while. There's literally no minions in it at all. So we're in for a long one, as this game is going to last for quite a while, as we see Manuel playing on Dapper Atchik's account. So I'm not really sure where this game's going to go from here. Playing Injured Blade Master Circle I think is way too risky, because if you get sapped it's horrible, and then you lose your circle combo for Orkanai, so you can't really handle a Gadgetzan at all. And there's the Gadgetzan. Gadgetzan coin spell prep spell, that could be massively powerful. Alright, so he's going for the circle combo now, because I think he just has to. He's hoping for the lack of sap. Really hoping for the lack of sap. And there is in fact a lack of sap. So this is going to be a flurry fan by the looks of it. Wait, no, he can't do that. So prep. Well, this is an interesting play here. Oh, we've got latency spikes. And then prep fan. Weird. I did not expect that. Because the reason I didn't expect that is because it really, really cuts down on your ability to use this Gadgetzan effectively. Although, I guess your opponent did just use a circle of healing, so a concealed Gadgetzan is pretty much game ending. But he does have the second one. He does, in fact, have the second one. And the priest has one of these hero power pass turns, which is what the legendary for. Alright, so he's going for the Orkanai here. I mean, I can see why. You've just seen that your opponent doesn't have sap at all. Speaking of sap, so he's going to play out some extra damage. He's going to try and kill this thing with damage because he can use his dagger to kill it next turn. 3 is rather awkward to hit with an Orkanai on the board. So I think what we're going to see is a trade and then a Cabal open as a 4-5. This is a very odd game right now. We could also just see, yeah, he's going to Power Word Shield to draw. But then now there's 2 Cabals. I don't think that was correct there. I don't know. The problem is you lose your Orkanai if you do it the other way, but then you have a 4-5 on the board. He's really protecting this. Really, really protecting this. Violet Teacher sap. That's a pretty brutal turn there. All we need is a conceal. If there's a conceal, I think Manuel just straight up wins from here. If there isn't a conceal, I could definitely see this game dragging on a lot longer. As we're just going to see the Cabal come down and steal the 1-1. Cabals practically never get anything useful in this matchup, so you'll take what you can get. Blood Mage? Alright. It's time for the spell train. All aboard the spell train. Hoping for that conceal. There's the conceal! And he's got that 3 mana he needs to go double Cold Blood, conceal, and draw a bunch of cards here. A whole bunch of cards with that 11 attack Violet Teacher and a second conceal. The second conceal might just be the end of the game. However, there is a method of wiping this board, I think. Wait, can he? He doesn't have enough mana. He does not have enough mana to wipe this. This could be trouble. He can't kill that 11-5 right now. This could be really, really bad. Oh, the Wild Pyromancer. Alright, so that opens a couple ways of wiping here. There's a couple ways of doing it. You can play Wild Pyro. You can silence something. And then go Orkanai Circle. You could go Wild Pyro, Circle, Silence, Nova. I mean, I think Orkanai Circle is probably better. Actually, no. Alright, so they both use 4-card combos. The difference is you keep your Orkanai in one situation. So I actually think it's Wild Pyro, Silence, Circle, Nova. Right? Silence, Circle, Nova. Yeah. Wild Pyro, Silence, Circle, Nova, I think is the way you want to clear this, because that does 3, 4, 5 damage AoE. I mean, there's a couple ways you can take around the order there, but the point is that you want to keep your Wild Pyro alive while doing this. Why he's doing in that order? He could have kept his Pyro alive if he played that differently. That was a mistake. Basically, he could have played Silence on the 1-1, and then blown everything up. Then actually no, he couldn't circle. No, he couldn't circle to deal 1 damage then. I think that was maybe the only way he could pull that off. Yeah, because the circle would heal everything. So yeah, that wasn't actually a mistake. Jotto fail, but yeah, that was some serious Wild Pyro math there. There was actually no way of saving that. Now, this Loatheb Mage to end the game on its own. Blood Mage, I think this is all going face at this point. There's no reason to send anything anywhere else, and the Violet Teacher Conceal is just overkill. Double circle combo has already been used. This is basically the end of the game. I do not see a way back from this. And the Conceal. Yeah, I just don't see a way back from this at this point. I don't really think it's possible. I mean, there could be a Holy Fire to the face, I guess. For 7 plus 12? Oh, it's not enough for lethal. So even the Holy Fire wouldn't have saved him here, I don't think. Actually, he would have been on a lot of life. He would have been on 18, and that can be 8, 9, 10, 15 damage. 18 exactly. Yeah, so even Holy Fire would not have won him the game there. So anyway, that particular series really did showcase what happens if you're not prepared for the Rogue. So the first game was against Druid. It pretty much planned out in just a way where there was a misplay. No, it was the second game. Yeah. So the Druid game was really a case of what happens when you have the Innervate start and you just get tempoed out because Rogue has a lot of ways of disrupting tempo. Like, that Ancient Allure came down turn 3. That's usually game over immediately. But there was an efficient way of dealing with it. Backstab, with the dagger, with the SI7, essentially just took it out for the use of 1 card and a Battle Cry. And 5 damage, that's all. And at that point, it's just really, really hard to deal with. Like, once you've been shut down that much, it's really hard to catch up. And there were a couple ways where it could have been caught up. Maybe if he taunted the Shade, then he could have got back into that game. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe if he traded with the SI instead, he could have got back into that game. But, I mean, hindsight is basically 2020, where you just look back on things to learn what your mistakes were. And I think not playing around Cold Blood was why he lost that particular game. Second game was just a death by not hitting the Drake. That should have just hit the Drake. It did not hit the Drake. He lost because of that, because there was a Cold Blood target. Didn't play around Cold Blood again. It was a Cold Blood target. Spell power just flattened. So always kill the stuff if it's going to hit you anyway. That's basically the motto from there. And the third game was an example of Priest and Rogue. However, it was very close comparatively. If there was a Holy Fire, it was only 1 damage. 1 damage off lethal, 1 damage off saving himself. It was actual just 1 damage. It was quite impressive. So if there'd been like a Blood Mage or something with a Holy Fire, or just any means of dealing 1 extra damage, it would have been lethal. Which I just find quite amusing. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, put it in the comment section below. As for now, this has been Jotto, signing off.